Okay, so it's week 5, and we're now well on our way to putting together the risk management plan for the MoCo LECO project. Before I talk about week's 5 assignment, which is risk response planning, I'd like to just take a couple of seconds to talk about last week's assignment, which was the qualitative risk assessment. In performing that exercise last week, I think many of you may have recognized that there really is no right or wrong answer when we're doing a qualitative risk assessment. And the reason for that is because the numbers that we assign for likelihood and for impact are very much a function of our own individual skills, knowledge, and experience, not only in risk management, but also in the areas that are particularly relevant to the specific project that we're involved with. You may have also discovered, as a result of your exercise, that at its best, risk assessment is really a team project. In other words, the more credible perspectives we can bring to each particular risk event, the more likely we are to capture all of the relevant activities and things going on that might impact that particular risk event. So again, if we can use a team approach doing risk assessments, we're all much better off. Let's take a look at the table that we use for doing the qualitative risk assessment. One of the columns on that table was called justification. And in that justification column, we were documenting our reasoning for why we assigned the values that we did for both impact and likelihood. Now, why is that important? One reason it's important is because if we do document rather thoroughly our reasoning, then others on the outside or other members of the project can look at it and be fairly comfortable and confident that we have taken into consideration all of the relevant things that might bear on that particular risk event. So they feel, again, more comfortable and confident that we have not overlooked any really important aspects that are there and just see numbers in a column, which isn't particularly helpful for them. Okay, the other reason why it's really important is because the reasoning we use for assigning the numbers for likelihood and for impact become the jumping off point as we start taking a look at risk response planning. Okay, so as we looked at the justification for the MoCo LECO project specifically, you may have noted that a number of the areas were based on administrative risks, essentially documentation, communication, things like that, that we could kind of lump into a category we might call administrative. And one of the things you'll notice in the table that I provided was that we can reduce the probability of the risk occurring in those types of areas by using standardized processes based on best practices. This is sort of a hint as we go into week 5, as I said, and we start looking at how we can either avoid, mitigate, or transfer risk. One of the ways we can do that is through using specific activities with regard to standardized processes. So I'll be looking forward to seeing you capture some of those things in your risk response plan for next week, or for this week, excuse me. And also, I'm excited to see what you come up with in terms of other risk actions that we can take a look at now that we have sort of an idea what the probability of a number of the risks are, of what the impact of those risks might be based on the table that I provided to you, the risk assessment table I provided to you. So I'm kind of excited to see what you come up with regard to specific actions that can be taken to either avoid, mitigate, or transfer those risks. So I'll give you another hint. We'll be trying to look at not only mitigation, but there may be opportunities for transferring some risk, and that's not always a bad thing. Don't feel like you're passing the buck when you do that, because in many cases, other organizations may be better suited to handling the risk than your organization is. So transferring it is not a cop-out. Transferring risk is indeed a valid approach for processing risks that may not be best suited for you to solve yourself. So again, I'm looking forward to seeing what you put together for this week, and have a great week.